It is MLB trade deadline day, and for the Washington Nationals, what today means is MacKenzie Gore, and I've got my gut feel after this.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And yes, I am your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me on Twitter at RyanClary11. And of course, this is Locked On Nationals. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. And later on in today's program, I'm going to talk about a new Nats prospect because, yes, the Nationals did make some trades yesterday. We'll sprinkle in some of those later on in the show today. But one prospect you should be excited about. I'm going to talk about that later on in the show today. In the second segment, our guy Grant Paulson may have speculated the Nationals might not just be trading MacKenzie Gore, but also could be shopping Luis Garcia Jr. I find that interesting. I'm going to discuss that in the second segment of the program today. But we start off discussing my gut feel surrounding MacKenzie Gore. And guys, I think he's going to be a Washington National by 6:01 p.m. tonight. But this episode is brought to you by 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. Go to 5hourenergy.com today and use my promo code LOCKEDONGolf to receive 20% off your order. Only valid through September 30th. Order transfusion-flavored 5-Hour Energy shots today. So as we mentioned with MacKenzie Gore, I feel as if by the end of the trade deadline today, the Washington Nationals will stay put. I think that this decision might be wrong for one reason only. I actually anticipate the Nationals to trade MacKenzie Gore possibly this offseason. And I'm already pretty mad about that. I'm not mad about the decision to trade him. I've been on the record time and time again where I think this is the correct decision. It sucks. The fan base will hate it. But in order to start winning games and winning games at a much quicker rate, the Nationals have to move off this guy, and you have to get big prospects in the building, which at this point in time, we lack. We all know that we lack big-time prospects. You've got one guy, and that's Travis Sakura, and now he's undergoing Tommy John surgery. The Nationals need to replenish this farm system. And in what ways can you do that? It's by trading your star players. It's not the most exciting way to think about it because you could easily have a winning team with MacKenzie Gore. But still at this point in time, the Nationals should be shopping him. And as everyone has really seen on Twitter, the reports that you have heard on the radio, on your TV broadcasts, on MLB Network, the Nationals are answering calls surrounding MacKenzie Gore, but there are different factors that go into it for this season. The number one factor at this point is that the Nationals will not budge on the price tag for Gore. And they shouldn't, by the way. If the Nationals are not getting the packages that they think are worth Gore at this point, you shouldn't be desperate to move off him. As we have said plenty of times in this show here, the Nationals should not be the ones calling the Cubs or calling the Yankees or calling the Dodgers about a MacKenzie Gore trade. These teams will come to them. And as Ken Rosenthal and Jeff Passan have noted now many times, basically every postseason contending team has checked in about MacKenzie Gore. He is a want and a need for a lot of these teams. Let those teams get desperate and call about a big package. That is when you get Jed Hoyer, the Cubs president, to really get active there and hopefully overspend for someone who is a very good pitcher. But then the Nationals tremendously get a huge offer at this point. The Nationals have to do something at this deadline. We all know it. Whether it's moving off of a Luis Garcia Jr. or it's trading a MacKenzie Gore. But the second factor in this equation here is ownership. Will ownership sign off on this move? Because again, this is just speculation for me at this point. I'm willing to bet that ownership at every single level there is probably saying, do we really want to trade one of our best players? The guy who does have a bobblehead day here in DC, the ace of this team at this point, the guy that we traded for Juan Soto? Like, do we want to make this move now? And is it really worth it? Because the ramifications are real. A lot of fans will totally check out if they do make this trade. And if the Nationals do decide to make this trade, then yeah, a lot of fans will be unhappy. And quite frankly, you should be. Because again, I do think that with where the Nationals are right now, you need to make this trade to, again, replenish a really weak farm system. And Gore helps in that factor. But also, baseball at the end of the day is a business. And the owners are going to operate this as such. How good of a business decision is it to trade away your number one pitcher and someone who is under team control for the next 2.5 years in order to kind of replenish a weak farm system? Is that really a benefit to a team that is trying to make money, that is a pretty cash poor team as we sit here today? Probably not. I think that's what's holding back this deal at this point. It's not Mike DeBartolo. It's not the Nationals front office by any means. It's probably ownership at this point. But here's where I'm going to really get upset with the Washington Nationals. Because I do believe they will trade Gore at some point in time. And if it is this offseason, that is where you will lose me. I'm not going to just quit on this team again. Like, that's ridiculous at this point. But it does not make any sense if the Nationals do have these plans in place to trade him this offseason. Why would that not make sense? Well, think of it this way. The reason what makes MacKenzie Gore so enticing at this point for a contending team is that if you trade him right now with 2.5 years of control left, you have 3 postseasons with him. This offseason, you only have 2 postseasons with him. And that is how GMs think. They are making these moves in order to help their teams in October. If you take away Gore from this year's trade deadline and ship him off this offseason, you roughly lose probably nearly 33% of the value of a trade. Thinking back to the Juan Soto deal, maybe you don't get a Harleen Susana. Maybe you don't get a CJ Abrams in that deal. That's a big deal. Susana's your number 2 prospect right now in the organization. He looks to be a great prospect who hopefully should be up sometime next season. And CJ Abrams right now is your franchise shortstop and is an all-star shortstop. That's a huge deal. So for right now, my gut feel again is I do think the Nationals hold on to him. Do I agree with it? Not necessarily. I would be doing anything possible at this point to work the phones and try to get the best possible package for him. But I do believe the Nationals will trade him this offseason. Or if not this offseason, the next season at the trade deadline. And I'm just pretty mad about that because, again, you're losing all that value. And what's to say that the best package that you could get for him right now is worse than what you'll get in the offseason? It probably isn't. Maybe there's another team that comes in play that you like their prospects a little bit better this offseason. Maybe that's the thinking behind it. Maybe there's a totally new GM that comes here in town that you're thinking might want to have MacKenzie Gore a part of this future and may see this team as a team that could be ready to win in 2026 or in 2027. That's a hard thing to believe at this point because, again, you don't really have that many prospects. And with where the Nationals are today, you need prospects. You are not going to spend in free agency this offseason. So what are the other ways that you can kind of help yourself and contend? It's by building through the farm system. And by building through the farm system, you have to draft and you have to develop and you have to make savvy trades. And I think right now, again, would be the best time to trade MacKenzie Gore. You are going to get your most value. You are going to get a ton of hopefully pro-ready prospects that can help and plug and play like tomorrow. But we'll see ultimately what the Nationals do. Because my gut feel at this point is that he will likely be a Washington National by today's trade deadline, which is tonight, Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. So have your calendars ready for that. We'll talk to you about all moves that the Nationals make. But next, there's a move that I did not necessarily see coming at this year's deadline that might be happening. And the Nationals are reportedly taking calls on them. And I think that this could be pretty interesting. We'll talk about that after this. And yes, it's time to fuel up and turn it up with 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. And let's be honest, some days on the course or off it, you just need an extra boost to stay sharp and energized. For instance, before I go and play my round of golf every weekend, just like I always do, I take that 5 Hour Energy shot, and it tastes so good. And you can even mix it into your drinks of any kind. And of course, it just tastes good, as well as the fact that it gives you energy to go tackle your day. Again, whether you're on the course, at the office, or just living your life. I love 5 Hour Energy Transfusion, so I want you to have that with you as well. So if you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost that you need to power through. Order transfusion-flavored 5 Hour Energy shots today. And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. So the Nationals, this one is quite surprising. Grant Paulson kind of mentioned that the Nationals have been taking calls on Luis Garcia Jr., who, similarly to MacKenzie Gore, has 2.5 years left on his current contract with the Nationals. And I think this is pretty surprising, but per usual, I'm not too happy about this. Because again, this just kind of reeks of zero plan in place for the Nationals. And I think this kind of goes back to Mike Rizzo, because this past offseason, you can find the receipts, I've always been saying that I think that this past offseason was the time to trade Luis Garcia Jr. He had 3 years left on his deal at that point. He was coming off a career season, and a second baseman that a lot of teams out there, they needed second base help. Luis Garcia Jr. could have been that guy for them. And you could have gotten a lot more in return for what you will be getting this year. Similarly to the MacKenzie Gore discussion, his value is at its highest this past offseason. Luis Garcia Jr. is a toolsy player. He's always been a hit for average guy. He's pretty bad defensively at second base. But also, I think the Nationals have kind of said as much with Garcia and how the way that they feel about him. Over the years, in the first few seasons of his career here in DC, he was always shipped up to AAA and back up to the majors, and it was always this yo-yo effect that never really made sense to me. I do kind of blame the Nationals in that development process, because I think a lot of baseball's game here, and you guys know this, but it's a mental game. And when you are getting shipped back down to AAA because you're not good enough for the majors, and then you're too good for AAA, you go back up to the Nationals and you flounder there as well. Finally, last year, he stuck. And this was the year after Mike Rizzo publicly called him out, and which was needed, by the way. But still, it was pretty harsh. And it kind of showed you what they really thought of Luis Garcia Jr. When they kind of, this is not exactly what they said, but Mike Rizzo kind of called him lazy. And it was pretty jarring. And Davey Martinez called him out plenty of times as well. They wanted to see his work ethic. They wanted to see his routine in a better place than what it was in 2023. Well, last year he responded, and he looked good. And he was one of the best offensive second basemen in baseball in 2024. Fast forward this year, he opened up the season struggling tremendously. And now he's picked it up as the summer has heated up here in July. But right now, Garcia is not really a part of this future, in my opinion. So when I saw that the Nationals are taking calls on him, I say sure. But then it also just goes back to the old regime of, oh my gosh, this team has no plan. They had no direction with Mike Rizzo. And again, I liked Mike Rizzo. Mike Rizzo, build him a statue. But goodness gracious, have a plan in place. So right now, speaking of plans, my plan is to talk about Luis Garcia Jr. I do think Luis Garcia Jr. is a toolsy guy. In being 25 years old, the Nationals should be interested in training him. And by the way, I do think teams out there might see some value in him. If you look at his baseball savant numbers, it tells a completely different story compared to his actual hard cold facts here. His stats, they're fine. His batting average is fine. He's always been a high batting average guy. He's had some slug here and there. His on-base percentage has been a problem at times. But a good hit tool, someone who does not strike out, doesn't take his walks, and he chases a lot. And he's not very good at second base. You're trading for his hit tool. So if the Nationals were to trade him away at this point, I'm not really sure who is out there who would actually want to trade for him at this point. I'm assuming it's a contending team that might see some value in him at this point. But with where the Nationals are, what would your return be? It's probably not going to be as much as you would think. But I also don't think it's going to be a bad return either. Because I think yesterday, Mike DiBartolo pulled a great move that we'll kind of jump into here with Michael Soroka in a few minutes. But you actually got some talent in that deal. I don't think you're going to be getting... Now, again, you will be getting something, but also GMs out there know what they're getting with Garcia. And if the Nationals are really trying to trade him at this point, it probably goes to show you that, again, they're not that high on him. The return at this point for Garcia, it might be worth it for the Nationals to kick the tires on. It might be something where, again, the Nationals should be considering trading him, because if you don't see him as a future piece, then he's one of those guys where I put him in that Josh Bell, Nathaniel Lowe, Michael Soroka category of just get whatever you can at the deadline for him and let's move on. That's kind of where I'm at with Garcia. I've seen enough at this point. But I also think GMs out there might kind of think similarly along those lines. And they might think to themselves, listen, he's 25 years old. He's got a good hit tool. He's pretty bad defensively. One of the worst second basemen defensively in baseball. And he doesn't really hit for power. He chases at a terrible rate. What's of value to us? Maybe a team that just needs someone to bat seventh in their lineup and have a high batting average and put the ball in play a little bit more than what their current second baseman does, potentially. But it's still a weird move, to say the least. And for the timing of this, again, my big overwhelming takeaway was, why didn't they do this offseason? Maybe because they believe that they could contend this year, and I think that's really ultimately why the Nationals did not move off of Garcia. Maybe they thought that it was for real last year and that he would build off of his 2024 season. But unfortunately for the Nationals, hasn't really been the case. I wouldn't go as far to say that he has regressed. I think he has gotten better throughout his career. But even then, to act like Luis Garcia Jr. is not replaceable for the Nationals is insanity. With where the Nationals are, again, you should be looking to move Luis Garcia Jr. And if the Nationals trade him away, I wouldn't feel any other way. Like, it's not going to kill me and pull me each way. If you get a good return, awesome. If you don't really get that good of a return, cool. You start fresh. You play Nasim Nunez at second base every day. Or maybe the Nationals make a MacKenzie Gore trade and you have Matt Shaw as your second baseman moving forward. You never know. So when the Nationals decided to take calls on Luis Garcia Jr., I thought it was interesting, to say the least. But speaking of interesting, I think the Nationals actually made a very intriguing move yesterday. And I'm actually really excited about this one prospect for the Washington Nationals. So let's jump into that prospect after this. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And yes, again, look up Locked On Nationals on Apple, Spotify, and of course the video version over on YouTube. Again, just look up Locked On Nationals. And yes, so the Nationals did make some exciting trades yesterday, and one prospect I am very excited about I'll get into momentarily. But just to wrap up yesterday's move, and this goes back to over the weekend when the Nationals first started their sell by trading away Ahmed Rosario for Clayton Beeter and Brown Martinez. I think that was a pretty interesting trade and a good return for the Washington Nationals. And then yesterday, they started it off with sending Andrew Chafin and pitcher Luis Garcia for left-handed pitcher Jake Eder and first baseman Sam Brown, who is in Double-A. Jake Eder, I would think, would be with the Washington Nationals, but then later last night, the Nationals traded away Michael Soroka a day after he made his final start for the Washington Nationals, and they got back a very good return. Number 11 prospect for the Washington Nationals currently is Christian Franklin from the Chicago Cubs. He is in AAA and kind of has a similar background to Andrew Pinckney, in my opinion. Has got a little bit of pop in there. Good, solid outfielder, a pretty decent runner as well. So he's an exciting prospect. He's 25 years old, a 2021 fourth-round pick for the Chicago Cubs. I think it's an intriguing prospect who will likely make his way to the majors sometime this season. Don't know what his role will be, but again, he's your number 11 prospect today. And then the more exciting one, in my opinion, is now your Nationals' number 12 prospect, Ronnie Cruz, the 18-year-old drafted out of high school last season in the third round by the Chicago Cubs. This is the prospect that I am excited about. The reason why I'm excited about Ronnie Cruz is this. If you give me a great defending shortstop, which is what Ronnie Cruz is, who has 55 grade power and who can also steal bases, I'm going to be excited about that any single day of the week. What wins in baseball today? What are the superstars? What kind of makes them stand out? You think of Elly De La Cruz. It's the power and the speed combo. You think of James Wood. It's the power and the speed combo. C.J. Abrams, another in-house star. The power and the speed combo. I'm not saying Ronnie Cruz is going to be that for the Nationals. It's way too early to speculate on that. He is 18 years old playing in rookie ball. But I can't dream about it. You can't sit there and kind of wonder to yourself, what if he turns out to be one of those things? And also, I hate to be that guy, but don't you ever kind of think to yourself, when will the Nationals kind of stump their toe into getting a O'Neal Cruz? When will they kind of stump their toe in getting a Yordan Alvarez? When the Astros sent over a rental reliever to the LA Dodgers, they got back Yordan Alvarez, one of the game's better hitters in baseball today. The Pittsburgh Pirates, one of the brightest young players in baseball today, is O'Neal Cruz. They sent over, again, a reliever for O'Neal Cruz, who both those guys were 17, 18-year-old teenagers, and they were unknowns at that point. It was trades that Jeff Passan, Ken Rosenthal probably didn't even tweet about. This is kind of one of those times where I'm just like, what if? Because the numbers that he has put up, they're pretty good in the rookie ball at this point. He batted .270 in his first 48 games, a .745 OPS. If I'm the Nationals, I'm aggressively pushing this guy up into maybe Fredericksburg at this point and seeing what he can do. Maybe the Nationals, because again, there's only a few more weeks left in rookie ball down in Florida. So if I'm the Nationals, I'm trying to figure out what we have here. Because I do think the skill set is really exciting here to bring into town. Now, I've heard some people say, well, you just trade away a rental 5-starter at best, likely a bullpen arm for the Chicago Cubs, and you really expect to get an O'Neal Cruz or Yordan Alvarez. Listen, that's not my point. I'm not saying the Nationals just totally swept away the Cubs in this deal. That's not the case here. But I do believe that the Nationals have someone in a Ronnie Cruz that I'm like, this could be something. And again, if the Nationals really go into this drafting and developing an analytical side of things in baseball, I kind of get excited about this. The tools are real there for Ronnie Cruz. And while reading through some of his bio here, he actually had some of the highest exit velocities back in that 2024 MLB Draft Combine coming out of high school. That's pretty good. And again, he was a Miami commitment. He was a below slot signing for only $620,000. But the Cubs are a very good draft and develop organization. Taking him in the third round, I thought was a pretty risky move by them, number one. But number two, it goes to show you that they think pretty highly of this kid. And again, he enters the Nationals organization right now as their number 12 prospect, ahead of Yohandy Morales, ahead of Andrew Lara, ahead of guys like Victor Hurtado and Brian Cortesia. You've seen them, you've heard about them, we've talked about them on this show. He's not just some no-name prospect. This is someone who I find really intriguing for the Nationals. And again, he's not killing the baseball down at rookie ball, but he's doing pretty well. And again, I haven't been able to lay eyes on him. I haven't scouted this guy for years. I heard about him yesterday. I read up on his profile, and I'm like, you know what? I kind of get excited for this. And I understand why Mike DeBartolo makes this kind of move. So I'm excited about this kid, Ronnie Cruz, a third-round pick by the Chicago Cubs, 18 years old, coming to the Washington Nationals. But just to wrap up today's show before today's trade deadline, I'm going to make a prediction real quick. Josh Bell obviously gets traded by the Washington Nationals. I think that is a foregone conclusion at this point. We'll see what team ends up with him. Then I also expect the Nationals to hold on to MacKenzie Gore and as well as Nathaniel Lowe. So expect Josh Bell to go. Maybe Alex Call is in that equation as well, and you call up a Robert Hassel, or maybe it's the new guy you got here in town with Christian Franklin, or maybe it's Andrew Pinckney. The Nationals have some options to go with, but as of right now, I see them holding on to Gore, and I see them holding on to Lowe. Josh Bell, he will be gone. That is for sure. And last but not least, Luis Garcia Jr., I think they hold on to him as well, although it would be interesting to see the Nationals move off their second baseman. So thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. I will catch you guys tonight. Let's see if the Nationals make any big-time moves. But until then, have a good one. Go Nats.